Well, back-to-back dark days in the books here as we settle in and blue skies and some white puffy clouds on this Thursday with a lot of turf racing coming your way. We've got that expansive, almost double-wide turf course here at Gulfstream Park, listed as firm. 6 turf races in all as we settle in from that ground floor shot way up high to our clubhouse studios. Acacia Courtney, Jason Blewett joining you, and Tuesday and Wednesday, a thing of the past. We're back at it here. We were just talking. We ended with Mike Baker and Aquaphobia winning the Monday President's Day nightcap, and evidently somebody was $1.2 million richer when that race was completed.
Amazing, a 51.60 ticket. So just for a little over $50, bet on Express Bet, which we love. Big congratulations to that winner. It took down the whole pool, but don't worry, there's plenty of money up for grabs today. And of course, we always, as always, have a lot going on Friday. So we're back. We're shaking the cobwebs off, but don't worry, Jason's getting ready.
Definitely. Beat the Expert Friday, a 10-race February 21st program, and take me on and sign up for free, by the way, over at GulfstreamPark.com. Some big fields here tomorrow afternoon, and that'll set us up for another big weekend as we've already passed the half-mile pole in the month of February, which is hard to believe, and another weekend upon us. So definitely, let's have a good time and get involved with our free-to-play Beat the Expert. That also, of course, brings us, Acacia, a day closer to the February 29th Fountain of Youth Stakes, won last year by Code of Honor. This is the real showdown, I guess, towards the upper echelon of the starting gate, having Chancet against Dennis's Moment.
Yeah, absolutely, and could shape up to be a very interesting field. We'll see who ends up in the entry form. Even heard some whispers that we might see Structor try the main track, which would be very interesting for sure. So we shall see, but looking forward to that for sure. It should be a great race and another big road to the Kentucky Derby prep that we have here at Gulfstream Park. Of course, Fountain of Youth and Florida Derby still to come.
Definitely facing Tipton, Fountain of Youth, and the Curlin Florida Derby as we pay homage and tribute to one of the best horses of our lifetimes for sure, and he has stamped his greatness already in the breeding shed without a doubt. Speaking of greatness, or maybe great doesn't tell the tale, but still, it is nice having not only the guarantee and the jackpot rainbow. It isn't often, though, we get to focus in on a 6-figure carryover, Acacia, in the late pick 5, and we've got that in spades.
$203,000 plus is the carryover in the late pick 5. Now, that does not carry over to the early pick 5. Early pick 5 is always a mandatory payout, so there's no carryover there. Late pick 5 from Monday carries over into the late pick 5 today, and that will be really well bet. Just a 50-cent wager. We're looking forward to seeing that and how much ends up in that pool. And of course, we do have the $100,000 guarantee jackpot pool for the Rainbow Six today.
Just 20 cents to get involved with the Rainbow Six. Hey, somebody walked away last Monday, $1.2 million richer for having played. So you never know what might happen if you're involved and you put your money up and they break from the starting gate. Speaking of putting your money up, you've got the first attack here regarding the early pick 5 on this Fast and Firm Thursday. A good little first race to start the new week here, and I think you are well served and pretty wise to at least have 4 horses. This is a very difficult first race.
It's a very tough race, and I do think Bad Beat Brian with John Velasquez aboard will run better today on the drop for Kieran McLaughlin, but I thought this was a really wide open race, and in fact, I would have actually liked to use more horses in here in this opener. Not an easy way to start things off. I'm 3 deep in the second. I don't love my single, but because I wanted coverage in some other races, I had to single somewhere, so I'm going to go with Samoa for Arundel and Juan Alvarado, who've been on a good run lately. This horse coming out of a good race last time out at Gulfstream Park West and does have some speed in a race that's not chock full of genuine pace, so that actually might be helpful. Very interesting race in the 4th. I'm 2 deep there in another race where I wish I could have had a little bit more coverage. Holy Meister, the favorite, and rightfully so, though just hasn't been able to get to the winner's circle, so we'll see if today is the day, and then we wrap things up with a nice maiden 50,000 where I'm 3 deep there. Not going to single the Chad Brown firster, but obviously that one will take a lot of play.
Yeah, number 3, Range of Motion, a colt by More Than Ready, who does debut this afternoon as a first-time starter for Chad with a Rod Ortiz Jr., who wrapped up last week here, that 6-day racing week with Monday having been President's Day, $92 32 victories from
Amazing.
372 mounts for Rod Ortiz Jr. He's got a fairly commanding lead over everybody, including Louis, who's second with 75.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been very impressive and very common to see both of those guys actually with multi-win days. And it's been a fun rider's race to watch. And you notice when a guy like a Red Ortiz is aboard a horse, that horse is going to get a lot of attention at the windows too.
Definitely. Now, I don't have a Rod in this first race. In fact, I do. I thought Jose was riding Budget Buster. I knew one of the Ortiz brothers was aboard. My top pick, the number 3 horse in Budget Buster, who maybe kind of a fitting name following the debate last night in some respects there. But a gelding by Painter, who to me is just coming off some 8.5 weeks ago. I feel his last start was hands down the best of his career. And although this might be a tougher spot with some new shooters, I've just overall liked, and how could you not, the run trainer Mike Maker's been on, as he's currently second in the standings with 29 wins. I'm going to take the number 3 Budget Buster, but I hear you with Kieran's horse, the one Bad Beat Brian.
Well, the thing about Budget Buster, and I certainly respect him, I had to have him second, but he's been the favorite in all 5 of his races so far. He's just been such a money burner. And last time out, it looked like he just didn't really have too much to offer late. He obviously, you had to put a line through that Gulfstream West race 2 starts back where he just totally bolted on the turn. The race last time out, I think, was stronger than what he might face today with a couple of next out winners. I respect him. You can't lead him off. But I wanted to try to find somebody else that looked intriguing, and I thought Bad Beat Brian picking up John Velasquez, and I don't love the field that he's coming out of on the turf. That race was won by a big long shot, and horses are 0 for 4 running back out of it. But I thought that this one with the drop in class and actually ran a sneaky okay race last time out.
Maybe he's a horse who's just going to wake up third out. Now, for the record, we'll get to his breeze, and I do like the fact that this was not only a last out work for this pricey, one-time pricey 2-year-old purchase by Jack Milton. It was also run, or at least it was conducted over the turf course up at Palm Meadows, and I was curious as far as your opinion. Looks like he gets over the turf okay here, don't you think?
Well, you'll see that kind of higher knee action, the way he kind of skips over the surface. That's where the turf course kind of evens out that action a little bit, and that's one of the benefits to training at a place like Palm Meadows where you can consistently work over the turf. You can see he is a touch warm. Maybe this is the type of horse now with the gelding, having the consistent work pattern, mentally and physically, perhaps will take a step forward.
1-3 for Acacia. I'll go 3-2 with the Weaver Firster by Uncle Mo in the second spot. George has got a couple of horses entered today. I especially like his Ratify coming up in the 5th race. But for now, we'll turn the page. We'll come up on Thursday second here, the opening main track race, and we go from a cast of 11 to a dozen in this 3-year-old 12-5 to 10-5 claimer. I am towards the outside, even though the post might not be all that great. I got to go lightly raced, Endor drop downs in this spot, taking the 11 Mighty Fast on top, who picks up Louis, second-time starter, and you've got good old Gustavo Delgado, 7 for his last 17 here.
Been very impressive for sure, and I thought Luis Saez climbing aboard was very noteworthy for this colt by Flat Out, who actually ran decent in his first start. I took a first off the claim type all power for Terry Pompey, who obviously has been very strong off the claim, and I think that this one, unfortunately, just has had trouble in his last couple of starts. I don't think that he's without ability, and he was a bit more forwardly placed last time as well, and he actually ran okay in his debut in what turned out to be a pretty decent field for the level. It also is a little bit of a drop off the claim.
Now, our first agreement obviously lands in race number 3 because you singled Samoa in this older filly mare, 2 lifetime 6250 claimer. She's got speed. She can stay the trip. And off a little bit of a layoff that dates back to maybe a week and change before Thanksgiving or 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, she's just kind of a new face at a race like this, you know?
Yeah, she is. And I thought that there didn't seem to be a ton of genuine speed in here. I thought that might be a little bit of the question as well. Kaylani is not too slow. In the past, Coffee Features has shown a little bit of early zip, but Samoa, I know it was a wet track last time at Gulfstream West, but it was also stretching out. And Edgar Zai is very good with horses on the front end, so I'm hoping that this one is up close or on the lead and is just able to go that distance. As you said, we know she can handle the mile.
Let's move on. Speaking of a mile, we'll move back to the turf course. In fact, consecutive turf races midweek midway through the program, getting on the grass with his older maiden special weight race with a $50,000 purse. Mark Cassie, a 1-2 punch, sending out the 3 Flame Zapper, and most importantly, the number 6 horse Holy Meister, who has not won, obviously, in 4 races. It has not been for lack of effort, though.
Poor Holy Meister.
Yeah, we feel for him because he has showed up with an A-level effort for a maiden special weight around these parts in every one of his races to date. In fact, let's backtrack to his last start here in the middle of January, where he made the pace down inside in those pink colors of Gary Barber, and he does everything but win. A second-time starting Shadwell horse for Chad Brown and Rock Keys was just a bit better, but both these horses pulled away and ran very big.
Yeah, they certainly did, and it feels like we've just shown the same replay the last couple of times for Holy Meister, as he's right there and just ends up getting beat just in the shadow of the wire. Unfortunately, same thing happened 2 starts back, and he's never run a bad race in his 4 starts so far, but now he's going to be 3rd off the layoff. I actually think the slight turn back from the 9 furlongs last time out to the mile today will suit him. They took a different tactic in sending him right away and sending to the lead last time. Maybe we'll see him do that again. I had some questions with kind of everybody in this field. There's definitely some talent, but I thought this might actually be an interesting spot for a first-time starter. So I'm going to take Cousin Doug, firster by Warfront for Grand Motion. Obviously, should be fine on the turf, and I actually watched the recent replay for XBTV on the turf 2 back, and though it was not a out-of-this-world clocking, really beautiful, strong, big, fluid mover on the turf, and so maybe that's a reason that it took a little bit longer to get to the starting gate. So I'll just take a stab at that one.
And if you were potentially going to have a later developing horse, I mean, when I think in my mind, I'm going, oh yeah, I want Graham as my trainer.
Right, absolutely. Absolutely. You got Edgar Prado in the saddle, so maybe we'll get the nice little $225,000 Warfront action here.
Bill Mott, speaking of later bloomers, if you will, he's got the one propensity, and he's a little bit of a wild card in this race, considering in the past he had run okay, I guess, well enough to warrant the look here on the synthetic at Woodbine and Turfway, and you combine that past ability on synth to the fact that he's now with Bill Mott and Got Bet didn't run, but might be a different ball game for him, second time for this barn, just getting on the turf in a longer race.
It really could be, and I thought last time that he looks like an older horse. He didn't look like a kind of younger maiden. He kind of really carries himself. He looked like a distance turf horse to me from my notes. So maybe that's what he's going to get today, and that'll help him. I wasn't completely blown away by him as the favorite last time, but certainly second time out for these connections, you have to take a look.
And Bill bringing back Frank's Rocket on Saturday in our co-featured, or the undercard stakes, the Any Limit.
Talented
I
horse.
forgot how good she was
Very
off the
good.
bat last summer into the fall.
And a lot of buzz surrounding that horse as well. You know, she'll have to take a stab at some other horses that have been in very good form. So that'll be an interesting chance to get to see her again.
Yeah, that's the Any Limit here. 12-race Saturday card. As we take a timeout, we chase the big money Rainbow and late pick 5.
It's the dawn of a new day in racing. All attention is on the safety of the horses from more professionals than ever before. Our eyes are on the prize to gallop past the old era towards a reinvention of our sport. Take your place with us now. This is it. The future of racing is off and running. It's all happening at each of our world-class venues. Our new vision for racing will drive us past the finishing line, heralding a new era for the sport. When betting, avoid the rush and allow First Bet to give you a leg up. Our app uses real-time data to help you make your bets with confidence. Enjoy a new vision for post-race entertainment. From the oval to the stage, the after party, and beyond. We invite you to the future of racing. A first of its kind.
Beautiful weather for thoroughbred racing, and as we said at the top, the turf course is where most of the action will take place today with 6 of the 10 on this Thursday, February 20th. As we welcome you back, everybody. Act 2 on this Thursday live edition of Gulfstream today. Jason and Acacia, JB and AC from our clubhouse studios. And as we get into another weekend, not only a Beat the Expert tomorrow, which you can play over at GulfstreamPark.com, we've got another bi-coastal Stronach 5.
Yes, we do, and this is always a popular sequence that pays very, very well with that industry low 12% takeout. It's $1 minimum, but you really get well rewarded, and it's quite a bit of action starting at about an hour and 45 minutes or so, starting a little bit before 4 p.m. at our sister track Laurel Park, and you've got 2 from Gulfstream in the mix, and got some California in action as well with Golden Gate and Santa Anita.
We've also got 100K, much like the Stronach 5 guaranteed pool. We'll also have 6 figures on the nose waiting for you in today's 20-cent jackpot Rainbow 6. Curious to see if you maybe singled Sir Seamus or somebody else. How's the ticket looking?
I did not end up singling because I've kept it around 43.20. I wanted 3 deep in this opening. Same 3 horses I used in the cash out of the early pick 5. Late pick 5 with that $203,000 carryover starts in the 6th. I'm 2 deep there. Kiss 'em goodbye. Getting on the turf should be a short price. I wanted some coverage towards a little bit later in the afternoon. Race 9 is a very strong race and one that I'm really looking forward to as well. And then we capped things off with Maiden Company in the nightcap on the turf, and I wanted a little bit of coverage there for 3 deep.
3-year-old maidens occasion, this opening leg of the Rainbow 6, race number 5, will go at a mile on the turf. Got a $50,000 to $45,000 maiden claimer. Number of lightly raced horses, including the firster for Chad, who we both have highly regarded, although I didn't pick the 3 range of motion. I've got my eye on the 10 ratifying. Let's just get back to the run. Basically, an uncovered slog 4 to 5 wide trip in the debut back on the 10th of January in those West Point colors for Ratify, who I just think a combination of maybe the field being a little too tough for him, maybe he needed the race first out, and ultimately what really has won me over with him running a lot better, or at least being more of an impact come crunch time. This is just not a traditional succeeding type trip on the turf course, making that clear run into the turn, and again, having to just run and grind while you're 4 wide or so.
Yeah, no, he never really had an easy time of it, never really got a chance to be covered up inside, and then just didn't really have much punch late at all. He really seemed to kind of be expending a lot of energy before the race when I looked back at what I saw from him in his debut. Didn't love that he debuted already as a gelding and 4 tag despite his price tag and for a very hot stallion. And he ran fine, certainly with not an easy trip, as you said. He takes a little drop today to the 50. This is definitely a softer spot unless the Chad horse is very sharp first time out than what Ratify faced in his debut. I used him in the pick 6, but I still kind of felt like you might be able to find others. And that being said, I'm not completely bowled over by range of motion either. You don't love a horse that costs $200 debuting for $50. But I watched a couple of his recent works, courtesy of XBTV.
Yeah, let's throw it up.
This one, I thought he moved really nicely, like he was going to handle the turf, and appreciate that. And he's got a lot of size to him.
Now, he was working outside Barantes, who's his obvious stablemate up at Palm Meadows for Chad, and I saw the same thing you did. Looked like he got over the turf fine. You might expect that looking at the fact that he's by more than ready. The dam, by the way, was winless in 2 starts. This is her 2nd full, and although she is by an Irish-bred stallion, there's an older brother, the only other foal to have raced and to be on planet Earth as it stands, is a minor dirt winner here. So just something to consider when you're looking at the entire picture with range of motion for Chad, who has struck her perhaps for the facing Fountain of Youth. You've got Dale, of course, committed to that race with Dennis's Moment, and he is in the mix here with Louis riding the 7 Montana Man, who we, again, much like the Chad Firster, we have highly regarded.
Absolutely, and this horse, plain and simple, has just been knocking on the door in his last couple. You saw Luis Saez aboard 2 starts back where he ran well in Blanket of Roses, who beat him by a length that day, but I think getting Luis Saez back up was really kind of keen to do more early. Last time I thought he was way too far back and actually finished up well.
Did finish well and switches over to Louis, as you said. As we move on to race number 6, we are halfway home. We have that $203,000 guaranteed, or at least late pick 5 carryover, mind you, with that Amador Sanchez horse really blowing up the board here.
70 to 1, right?
Yeah, 70 to 1 Zalza, in fact. I think it was Zalza. Something along
Something
those
like that,
lines.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, with Hector Berrios. So that horse is basically the reason we have over 200K in the late pick 5. And I had a couple of different iterations of this ticket, at least on paper, and opted to go with this one here, singling Kelly
Scardo.
Breen's horse. What was it?
Scardo.
Scardo, not Zalza. Yeah, similar though,
Yeah.
you know? But he
I
was
gotcha.
good. No, he
Yeah.
was very good beating Disc Jockey. But Flat Awesome Jenny is going to be my building block type single. She has just obviously really come into her own, fast figures, good recent wins, and I'm hoping that party continues today. The other potential single for some people might be in the race prior, the 8th race, where you have Sir Seamus, who will likely have a much easier time with the number 9. You should be so lucky with that horse as an early scratch.
I did consider singling Sir Seamus. As you saw in my pick 6 ticket, I used a couple in there just because I had kept it around 43.20. But if you want an even more budget-minded ticket, maybe those are a couple of horses you key on.
147 for me to start. And to me, this race ultimately is everything falls in line. The most important sort of pre-race nugget in my mind is the presence from the rail with Edgar riding the very speedy Art Kiss Him Goodbye. And the more I look for this barn, Georgina Baxter trying the turf with this mare by Adios Charlie, this barn wins a lot of turf sprints, and I just want the early speed. I think the speed of the speed.
The speed, absolutely. And I know this is, a 5-year-old mare that they're trying to get back on track. Obviously, a little bit of a layoff since September. Broke her maiden in 2017 and then was brought back in January 2019 and has been solid in her 4 races since. So she finally gets to try the grass. There is a little bit of turf pedigree, obviously, and I think the speed is definitely going to be her key. And this barn has just been obviously very sharp, especially with these kinds of horses. A little bit of an interesting field after that, kind of where do you go after you move away from Georgina's horse? I use the number 4 Cavern and Chipmunks, I believe. French
Chocolate
bred.
chipmunks.
Yes, exactly. So this one was just a drop in class coming in from Woodbine.
Very dangerous, perhaps, with Jose Ortiz, as is, if you want perhaps the best finisher, the 7 Stormy Nelly does make a ton of sense, as she may have been out of her element last time, having no prior 5/8 turf sprint experience, again on the grass, and she ran a fine race. I do think, though, this field is just a deeper one than that Fitress Corrigal race, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so too. And I think she's been solid though, and especially when she turned back in distance last time. I mean, if there is some other speed, she could potentially sit.
Yeah, she's a definite potential trip horse in this race, without a doubt. As we get on to the 7th, an older filly mare near the bottom, an $8,000 to $7,000 claimer, and mentioning that phrase, I just thought this was a tough race to get cued on, and laying that on the table, you've got the 3 Worth Avenue, who you picked, who's riding a pretty long winless streak that basically dates, I had to look it up, her last win was smack dab between Justify winning the Derby and the Preakness. So you're talking May 13th of 2018, but she's super dangerous, along with the number 4 Fancy Fox, who's in for the 8 Gs for Eddie Keneally.
And obviously Fancy Fox has some recency. She's second off the claim. She's switching back to the main track after a turf try last time, where she actually she ran fine on the turf last time, but I think the main track is her preferred. I did take Worth Avenue. She had been she was in such good form with so many good wins here at Gulfstream at one point, and she's been solid, not winning, but she's still been running okay. And I thought the slight drop in class, she's now with Jorge Delgado, and seeing her at Ortiz pick up the mount, I thought the race kind of revolved around these two.
Definitely 3-4, 4-3, I think, for the majority of us, as we flip the page and we come up on the 8th race that, thankfully, with the weather and just the way this card has played out, very few changes or scratches or defections. However, this was the one race off at its own camp because we lost a major impactful player in the number 9, You Should Be So Lucky. Unequivocally, it's about the number 4, Sir Seamus, who I guess I was under the impression that this gelding was going to be a really nice claim for Mike Maker and Hootie's Racing, yet 2 races for the barn, 1 on the dirt, which I don't care about. The turf race last time out was a loss, but I do think this horse is best when he's on the lead. I think he's a need the lead type, and I say that to you because does he get the lead here going 5/8?
That's going to be the question as well, and especially with probably what was the main danger in here is You Should Be So Lucky is out. Memorable Election is trying the turf for the first time and has a little speed. Broadcast Time, I mean, if this horse wants a shot, getting the lead or being close to it is his best bet. But I do think that Sir Seamus has been best. I agree when he's been on or close to the lead. And for what it's worth, I know he was claimed for Mike Maker, and it was a very salty field that he faced last time. That was a very strong field for 30. Two next out winners, both of them with 78 Beyer speed figures, including Machiavelli, who was very good the next time out for Mark Cassie. So I think that this one, he's just going to be in a right spot, and the question is, can he sprint? But I'm saying in Mike Maker, we trust.
Absolutely. It's a good ethos to have. 29 wins here prior at the meet for Mike, who's just 2 behind Todd Pletcher with 31. If Sir Seamus, be it a bad claim or he just doesn't like 5 or he gets hooked or doesn't make the lead outright, the 5 Mr. Edgar really becomes the quote-unquote other horse in the race. And to me, putting Flat Awesome Jenny and Sir Seamus up side by side, I just had maybe a couple of more question marks with Sir Seamus because Mr. Edgar, if things go his way, he may get a perfect storm here.
And this barn, Jorge Delgado is very good claiming horses, and he faced 16 non-winners of 2 Company last time, but that was in a race taken off of the turf and on a wet track. His last turf race, though, at Gulfstream West was for $35,000, so it was much tougher than what he's facing today. So if just looking at his turf form, it's a drop in class, and I think this is going to be the right spot for him as well.
No drops for Flat Awesome Jenny. Boy, is she just, she is breathing fire, and she really going in is the table centerpiece to this upcoming 9th race. Our last spin, by the way, on this Thursday around the main track as we have this older filly mare optional claimer. Why don't we just take a step back just a few weeks ago on January 20th and look at a mare by Flat Out of an Awesome Again dam who's just really stepped up her game. And this strikes me, she's got to go out there and do it, but just looking at the quality of the field that she beat, the way she did it, the figure she got, this may have been a very, very, very shrewd pickup for Kelly Breen and company, 2 back here before Christmas for $35,000.
She finished up really nicely. I agree with your acceleration outside, and obviously when you claim a horse, she lost that non-winners of 3 condition a couple starts back when claimed. She won for Mike Tomlinson coming here to South Florida, but then they stepped her up to starter allowance, and she won that impressively as well. So she's not in for a tag anymore. She seems like a good fit for the barn, and she's just seems to continuing to go like this. She's on the upswing, I think, for sure. There is obviously a lot of speed we've got Georgina Baxter, and again, Our Prerogative, very, very fast, and has been facing some solid company lately.
I would have liked her a lot if My Sarasota Star wasn't in the race.
Agree.
And it looks like they're both contenders.
Agree.
They're contenders, both of them, and they have some things to recommend, and clearly the prerequisite talent to be major factors here. But boy, it does look like there's a chance they might just cancel one another out, right?
And Flat Awesome Jenny would be thrilled about that.
Exactly. Yeah, she'd be licking her lips again or her chops there like she did in that win we just showed everybody. So she's clearly a big favorite coming up on the 9th race. Not the story, however, as we cap things in this $200,000 late pick 5 carryover. In race number 10, an older filly mare, $16,000 to $14,000 claimer on the turf. Maybe an impactful scratch. I saw Raspberry Ballet was pretty short on the morning line, although I'm going to try a new face in this race, and we can talk about a few, but the more I looked, horses like the 7 also Always Lucky, the 6 Tapazar Girl, even Savvy Cairo. She hasn't had as many chances as the other 2 I just talked about, but she hasn't shown anything at short prices. So I'm going to just take a new face on the turf. You're trying Terry Pompey, Acacia off the claim earlier. I want Terry first-time turf with the 8 Bulldad. There's no real like glamorous pedigree as far as like the offspring and the siblings for the turf, but hey, she is by Soldat. She's got Warfront, Holy Bull in her immediate DNA, and maybe this is a spot where she can wake up and just time it right against a field that's just crying out for a horse like her.
That's kind of what I was thinking as well, that this was just going to be one that you're going to have a wild card kind of horse, and so I took Rosa Sparks, cute name, and I thought second time here in South Florida and a drop in class. Does come out of a race with 2 next out winners, and you know what? She'll be a price, so I'll take a stab, and I'm with you that I just didn't trust any of the potential favorites in the nightcap.
Acacia 5-7, I'll go 8-1, and we will all go Pete Aiello, who's coming up next with those Thursday. It's a big one here with the carryover in the late 5, scratches and changes.